the conclave is such a big story, and it comes now, unfortunately, with a hazard for Catholics, a big, big hazard, among others. The betting markets have started chiming in on who's going to become the next pope. We're going to go over that. I'm going to give you a hint here. You are not allowed as a Catholic to bet on the outcome of a papal conclave. It incurs an automatic excommunication if you do. That is an ancient law, and it's been re-upped every time the Code of Canon Law gets a major revision. And we'll go over that in a second. But first, we go here to sportsbookreview.com. Yeah, I know. I never thought I'd be citing this website. Never even heard of it until now. But headline: New Pope betting odds. Pietro Parolin leads favorites and AI prediction for 267th Pope. During the presidential election, these things were pretty good. These betting markets were a good way of showing what the Democratic impulse was and the feelings the Democratic wins were, little d Democratic, towards the outcome of the coming presidential election. And I hope the way I phrase that shows you the folly of this. Nobody except the three persons of the Holy Trinity know who is going to be Pope. No one else does. And this is why I refrain from every day uploading a video or doing a live stream on, this person could be the next Pope and here's why. This person could be the Pope and the next, here's why, because all it does is make people really either hopeful or really afraid. And there's no reason to do that. Here's what we have here from this unfortunate story. And I have this magnified. Let's make it so you can see it. Brief article. The Catholic Church will soon begin its process for choosing the next Pope, and Cardinal Pietro Parolin at plus 150 is the early betting favorite by the Vegas new Pope odds. Pope Francis passed away Monday morning at the age of 88 following hospitalization more than a month ago due to double pneumonia. He was the 266th Pope for 12 years. Conclave is expected to be held about 15 to 20 days following Francis's death, when the Roman Catholic cardinals from around the globe will determine the next Pope-elect. And here are who they think has the best chances. The higher the number, the worse they're doing. Parolin is leading, followed by Tagle and Turkson, three men you absolutely do not want to be Pope. Followed by Matteo Zuppi, same, don't want to be Pope. Followed by Cardinal Sarah, and then Pizzaballa, and Erdo, and Gambetti, and Farrell, the Camerlengo. I laugh because he went on camera back in 2018 and said, I was shocked about the allegations of my former roommate, Ted McCarrick. I would have never thought that the man I lived with would do such evil things, that I would have been in the same building as him when it happened repeatedly. Didn't say quite that way, but come on. It was the kind of statement made everybody think that everybody thought he was dumb. Cardinal Marx. Oh boy, Aveline, another one, Gresh. Basungo, don't put your hope in the African bishops. Yes, they're very good on the James Martin sin, but they've also asked the church to change its teaching on the idea that a man can have multiple wives. Okay, so they just traded one sin that cries out to heaven for justice for another one. But then you have Angelo Scola, Cardinal Burke is far down the list. Nichols is there. I mean, you look at this. These are the betting odds, right? And I, again, take the betting odds with a very serious grain of salt, because these are just typical people, many of them not Catholics, who are placing these bets, again, illicitly. This is a Japanese, I believe, betting odds X account. And they go over all of it. But here's the current part. They say the current support on prediction market, Polymarket, which is like the biggest one, is as follows. First place, Pietro Parolin, 29%. Luis Antonio Tagle, 22%. And third place, Matteo Zuppi at 13%. Modern elections are unique. They allow us to see the real expectations of the market. Let's go away to describe it. The real expectations of the market. And now the problem is, this is a metric that they're using. They're using a metric essentially of what would happen if people voted for it. And that's not how this works. This is the College of Cardinals meeting behind closed doors. And we know the kinds of things they tend to discuss in the broader sense. The context of the situation of the church and the world being one of them. Geopolitics always comes up at a conclave. So I expect a lot of geopolitical things. That war in Eastern Europe, the situation in the Holy Land, and yes, the U.S. government suddenly turning off the financial support of the U.S. bishops to be pretty big deals at this coming conclave. That doesn't tell you who's going to win. Francis has appointed like 80% of the cardinals. That can give you a good idea who's likely to win, but that doesn't necessarily guarantee it either. And so here's from a Las Vegas betting account on X. So it turns out you can actually bet on the next pope on a site called Kalshi. It's a CFTC regulated prediction market platform that is legal in all 50 states. Current pope odds, this is from a competitor to Polymarket. Pietro Parolin, 29%, Tagle, 22%, Zupi, 11%, Turkson, 9%, Pizzaballa, 8%, Erdo, 8%, Umbongo, 4%, and Sarah, 4%. This is the same company that legalized betting on the election in America and has thousands of markets related to current events and sports. And I'm going to just beg you, for the sake of your soul, having this information is one thing. Placing a bet on who's going to be pope is a canonical crime. It incurs automatic excommunication. Don't do it. Canonlawblog.wordpress posted in 2013, okay, when their conclave was coming. Headline, betting on the conclave. According to the Old Catholic Encyclopedia in his Bullum Cogit Nos, which maybe I should record that if I can find it. They have a link. They don't have a link there, but if I can find that text, I will put it up as a Saturday educational video for you. It says Pope Gregory XIV forbade, under pain of excommunication, all bets concerning the election of a pope, the duration of a pontificate, or the creation of new cardinals. Some folks are asking, is this still the law? Answer is no. Gregory's norm was a penal provision of older system of canon law known as the Justicrotalium. As such, according to Canon 6.5 of the Pro-Benedictine Code of Canon Law, Cogit would have been abrogated on May 19, 1918. There's presently no canon law on conclave wagers, they say. That was a clip from an earlier live stream from several days ago, and I got messages from people saying that people really need to see that to revisit the subject. So I decided to clip that part as a segue for this. That article that you just saw goes on to say, well, it's not in the Code of Canon Law anymore. In fact, the guy who posted it says, I'm going to go make a bet. You shouldn't do that. Sometimes things don't need to be in the Code of Canon Law for them to be a sin, for you to not do them. This is a case of a more basic thing. This isn't a case of impiety. Let's go to the Catholic Dictionary of 1910 for a very brief definition of impiety. According to that dictionary, any act committed against the reverence due to God or due to a person or thing referring to God. The principal forms of impiety are atheism, blasphemy, sacrilege, simony, and perjury. A book, work, etc. are only metaphorically said to be impious. So we are in the metaphorical realm of impiety here. This isn't simony, this isn't blasphemy, but a conclave is a sacred event. This is the College of Cardinals, presumably prayerfully asking for the guidance of the Holy Spirit and listening to the will of God on who should be the next pope. We should always assume going into it with charity that they're at least going to intend to do that, even if there isn't any evidence they've done that for a very, 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 very long time. But this is an act of impiety if you go and place a wager on the outcome of a papal conclave. So don't do it. You are making light of the things of God. The Pope is supposed to be the vicar of Christ. He's Christ's prime minister. You are not to mock such an event. It's a gross impiety. Don't do it. And when you make a bet on it, you are making light of it. The single most important thing that will happen in the world in 2025 is who will be the next Roman pontiff. Some people will find that to be hyperbolic. It shouldn't be. This is the man who will be shepherding the souls of the faithful and representing the Catholic Church to the souls who desperately need to enter her for the next 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, depending who they choose. None of us knows. This is why I find all this speculation by podcasters and bloggers and all the rest to be kind of pointless. It's grossly impious to place wagers on things like this. I'm not talking here about the old Catholic bingo hall thing. I'm not talking about that. The church has allowed for soft forms of wagers and things, but it's always on things that are not important. You betting $20 with a friend over the outcome of a basketball game is not the same thing as placing a wager on who the Cardinals are going to choose in a process that is supposed to be centered on prayer and the Mass and the guidance of God himself directly with the Cardinals, if they are open to hearing his voice. Please take it with the gravity that it's due. Please try to refrain from making too many jokes about this stuff, too. You do see some Christian, non-Catholic outlets like the Babylon Bee, which always likes to make fun of Catholics, poking fun at the conclave. It's not the time for these things. I'm curious if you agree with my assessment. Is this an act of impiety? Or should people be, because the Code of Canon Law doesn't explicitly say you can't do it, that you should go and do it? Let me know in the comments, please. Like and subscribe. If you haven't, it certainly helps. Sharing this on social media helps a lot too. If you ever thought about supporting the work of Return to Tradition, plenty of options in the description box below. All of them asked for by viewers like you. They are Patreon, Subscribe Star, the join button below, all those things. Let me know, again, in the comments what you think of all this, and your support does help keep the daily messages coming. And as always, pray for the church and for the conclave and for the cardinals to listen to the voice of God for once. I'm Anthony Stine. Ave Maria.